Hi Rasmus users. Today we're going to be walking through how you can create forms in Hi Rasmus. Forms are a really nice tool because you can allow users to fill out forms and actually update client information through a form itself. So let's start off by, we're going to go to the Clients tab and just walk through some of the information that you can include in the forms. So anything on the client's profile you can include in a form, and you can also allow any of these fields to be updated by the person who's completing the form. We'll walk through how to do that in just a minute. On the Profile tab, you'll find all of the fields that just come with the client's Hi Rasmus profile. And on the Client Information tab, these are all of the fields that you can create yourself for your organization. We can create separate categories that all of these different fields belong under, and we can create different types of fields that you can use to be filled out through the form or by somebody who has access to the client's profile. Now, you can create these by going to Settings, Organization, Client Information. You can add sections and add data fields. These are all of the custom ones that we have created and that we'll be using to build out our form. To build out a form, you're going to go to Templates, which is again under Settings, and then you're going to select Forms. Now we have a form that we've already started that I'm going to use to show you. We also have layout settings on forms as well. So if you want to include a header or a footer on all of your forms, then you can do that right here. So in this client information form that we've started building out, I've named the form, and these purple chips that you can see here are either dynamic or custom fields. So everything I've included so far, I've just pulled from the dynamic fields list. All of the client information that we just talked about can be pulled directly from this client section right here. So this will include those client profile fields and those custom client information fields. The dynamic fields will not be filled out by a user creating the form, but they will be pre-populated in the form itself. So if you want to include any sort of custom fields or you want any custom information within the form itself, then we're going to do that by setting up a custom field. So let's create a field in which the parent can fill out the information and it will update that client information field on the client's profile. So we'll do this with the primary insurance ID. The field type is going to be a client field. And we're going to make sure that we check off this box to synchronize the input value to the client profile after the form is completed. We'll make it a required field and we're going to save it to the field library. And we're going to put it in the client field here. So I'm going to select my field right here, which is going to be my primary insurance ID, and then select Save. Oops, I put this in the wrong section. That's okay. I can find it right here. That field that I just created is this one right here. Any custom fields will be marked by this little edit icon. So any field that you've created that's a custom field, you can go in and edit it at any time. So I'm going to select Save, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the allergies field. And again, we're going to choose that client field, and we're going to look for the allergies field, synchronize the input, make it required, and save it to the field library under the client section. Going to hit save, and then let's walk through some other custom field options. So we can include text fields, number fields. If you want to include a selection field, then you can do all of that as well, date fields as well. Some of these other fields are just used for our session notes. So like the generative text field is not really going to work in a form. Same thing with the program data field or a session data table field. Those wouldn't really have use for you within a form. But if you wanted to, create a text field in which the parent is putting in, medical history information, for example, then you can definitely do that and just have that live on the form. And if you don't want it to necessarily update anything in the client profile, then you can just leave that as a standalone field on the form itself. Okay, so now that we have a form created, I'm going to check off this box right here that will require a signature from the user who's completing the form. So in this case, it would be the parent that we want to complete this form. We can also require a signature from additional people. Now, just like your session notes, you do have to have those client information user fields set up. So in this instance, we have a parent and a supervisor user field set up on the client information tab, but I'm just going to leave that checked off for now. I'm also going to lock it from manual editing. This means that when the form is filled out, they won't be able to edit any information or manually type text into the form. They would only be able to fill it out through the individual fields that they're able to fill things out through. So I'm going to save my form, and now I'm going to generate the form to be filled out. So to do this, I have to go to the client. We're going to go to Charlie Brown, and I'm going to go to his files and select new form. So the form is the client information form. It's the only one I have. We can assign this form to somebody, or we can just leave it open for anybody to be able to fill out. In this instance, I'm just going to select add form because I'm going to fill it out and pretend that I'm the parent. So now when I go to Charlie Brown's page, his home page here, the form is able to be completed. So to complete the form, I just select complete form, and I can put in all of the information that I am prompted to put in. I'm going to go through and fill out my fields. And now you can see that all of the fields here, I guess he doesn't have a first and last name listed, but he has a preferred name. All of those dynamic fields that we saw on the form, those are automatically filled out from the information in his client profile. And then these are some of the ones that I inputted. I'm going to be able to sign it. And now it's been completed. So a couple of things, we can find the form here in the history. Here's the actual form that we filled out. It's also going to be in the client's files. Here's that client information form. We can download it as a PDF. Now, when I go to Charlie's profile, you'll see that some of those fields that we had that were filled out, his allergies field, his primary insurance ID that we completed through the form, these were blank previously, and then I filled them out through the form, and now they're updated on his client information page. This is really nice because these fields can also be pulled into session notes, and they can also be pulled into treatment plans. So anytime you need an update from a parent or whomever, you can allow them to fill out a form and update this information. Just keep in mind that in order for someone to fill out a form, they do have to have a user account through Hi Rasmus. So if you do want parents to complete forms, then you would need to create an account for them. That's pretty much all there is to our forms in Hi Rasmus.